You know, they often say the most powerful messages are saved for the very end. Well, today we're diving into the conclusion of a truly remarkable chapter of the Quran, Surah Ta-Ha. These final verses, wow, they just distill everything that came before into this powerful lesson about where to place our trust and how we can unlock true understanding. So let's explore what makes this ending so profound. And here they are, the final two verses of the surah. Think about it. After this epic narrative of Moses, we're talking miracles, trials, lessons, the whole shebang. These verses bring it all home. They are the ultimate summary, right? The core message that the entire chapter has been building up to. We're going to unpack them one by one. So, let's set the stage a little. The surah has just walked us through this incredible story of Moses, his face-off with Pharaoh, the parting of the sea, and even the rebellion of his own people with that golden calf. But then, right at the very end, the focus shifts. It pivots away from these huge historical events to something more personal, more timeless, these deep spiritual truths. And this is absolutely crucial. These final verses, they're not just some afterthought. You can honestly say they're the whole reason the stories were told in the first place. They pull our focus right back to the heart of it all, the oneness of God, or tawhid, the absolute necessity of patience, and the final ultimate outcome for those who follow guidance versus those who don't. Okay, let's start with the first of these two verses, verse 134. This one tackles a question that you might naturally have after hearing all these stories of divine punishment, and that's the question of fairness, of being given a proper warning. So here's the verse in its original Arabic, and just looking at the script, you can feel the weight of it, can't you? It's structured almost like a legal argument, a definitive statement being laid down. And here's the translation in English. This is essentially Allah explaining his own justice. He's saying, look, I send messengers and I send revelation for a very specific reason, so that no one on the day of judgment can turn around and say, hey, I was never given a fair shot. I didn't know. Now, this gets us to a really important idea in Islamic theology called hujjah. You can think of it as a conclusive proof, the final argument. By sending a messenger, like Moses to Pharaoh or the Prophet Muhammad to his people, God establishes this hujjah. The truth is made crystal clear, and that classic excuse of, oh, I was just ignorant, is completely taken off the table. This chart just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have divine justice, which is always proactive. It sends the guidance first. It establishes that clear proof, the hujjah. But on the other side, you have the potential human excuse. We didn't know, or we were never warned. The stories we just heard about Pharaoh and the Israelites in this very surah, they are the perfect real-world examples of this principle in action. All right, so let's move on to the grand finale of the surah, verse 135. After laying down that principle of perfect justice, the chapter ends with this incredibly direct, powerful command and a statement of absolute certainty. And here it is again in the original Arabic. This is the last word, the absolute mic drop of the entire chapter. It's addressed to the Prophet Muhammad for him to deliver to, well, everyone. And the translation is just so powerful. Say, each of us is waiting, so wait. It's this acknowledgement that, yeah, everyone's waiting for an outcome, believers and disbelievers alike. But look how it ends, with this absolute certainty. You will know who are the companions of the straight path and who is guided. No ambiguity. And the verse uses a couple of really cool terms. Mutarabbis, that's someone who is waiting, watching to see how things pan out. The believers are waiting for God's promise, and the disbelievers are kind of waiting for the believers to fail. But the verse cuts through all that tension by pointing to the sirat as-sawi, the perfectly straight, even path. It's not crooked, it's clear. And that is the real kicker here. The surah doesn't end with some big threat of fire and punishment. It ends with this calm, confident statement that clarity is inevitable. It's basically telling the believers and the prophet, just be patient. Because the truth, it's not some matter of opinion that's going to be debated forever. Nope, its reality will become undeniable for everyone.
Okay, so we've looked at the two verses separately. Now let's put them together. How do they work as a team to give us this powerful concluding statement for the whole surah?
It really leaves us with two big messages that are totally intertwined. First, this deep reassurance in divine justice, that guidance always comes first. And second, a command for patient certainty. It's saying, don't you dare waver, because the truth is going to be made clear for every single person to see. And this brings us right back to that long, detailed story of Moses. Why did we hear it? Well, it's not just a history lesson. It's the perfect case study. Pharaoh got the clear signs, the hujjah, but he refused, and his end was disgrace. The believers were tested, but their guidance was ultimately confirmed. The history is there to perfectly illustrate the principles of the conclusion. So, when you put it all together, what's the timeless moral framework that this surah is giving us, especially in light of these final, powerful verses? It really gives us 4 key takeaways that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Number 1, divine warnings that hujjah, they're actually a form of mercy, a chance for us to get it right. 2, patience, especially when you can't see the end of the road, is a core strength for a believer. 3, arrogance, like we saw with Pharaoh, leads to disgrace, while faith leads to guidance. And finally, number 4, we can have complete certainty that the truth will win out. It's a promise. And with that, the entire surah just comes beautifully full circle. It started by reassuring the Prophet Muhammad, then it detailed the mission of Moses, walked us through these unbelievable trials and acts of divine justice, and it lands right here, at the ultimate conclusion. Have patient, unwavering certainty in God's plan and in His perfectly straight path. And that leaves us with one final thought to really chew on. If the truth of the right path is inevitably going to become clear to everyone, how should that knowledge change the way we live our lives right now, in this waiting period? It suggests our actions today aren't just a blind guess, but an investment in a known, certain future. Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.